Morning. Today's daf is daf Samaches. We are up to the Mishnah on the page, in the middle of the page, Amud Aleph, and we are discussing the Omer. And we're learning the whole process of the Omer, and bearing in mind that the Omer, what it does is you have the Omer, Menachos Omer, and we have the Shter Lechem. The Menachos Omer is what permits some people to eat the Chodesh, the brand new crop. And prior to the second day of Pesach, you're not permitted to eat the brand new crop. And the Shtei Alechem from Shavuos, that was made out of wheat, not like the Menachos Omer made out of barley, and that enabled one to bring the new crop onto the Mizbech. So the Mishnah, Daf Samach Ches Amud Aleph, once the Omer was brought up, Huter Chodesh Miyad. Once the Omer was brought up, Chodesh was permitted, you were allowed to eat the new crop. Her chaykim now. So we're learning the Mishnah of Samaches that once the Omer was brought up, then you're allowed to eat Chodesh. That means the new crop is permitted. So till the second day of Pesach, you're not permitted a new crop. And the times of Beis Hamikdash, it was when they brought up the Omer, let's say in the morning, sometime in the morning. But Harachaikim, those who live far away, they have no idea what time the Beis Hamikdash brought up the Mincha. You from midday and onwards you can eat because you can rest assured that the Beis Hamikdash already brought up the Mincha of Omer. Misha Chara Beis Hamikdash. Once the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Hiskin Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai instituted a few things, and we had this in more Kedushin of Memalov there. He decided a few things to do Zeichel Migdash as well, or connected to the Beis Hamikdash. Remember, he lived at the time of the Churban, so he said the lulav should be taken every single day. In Rosh also had it in Sukkah. You know what? That now there's no Beis Hamikdash, the entire second day of Pesach, it's totally forbidden, and we'll soon see why. Rabbi Yehuda says, what, you made a takana? The entire day is also matana to eat the new crop. If there's no carbon, the carbon is matana. But if there's no carbon, then you have to wait till the end of the 62nd day. Ad etzem hayem is an ad. Sometimes the machlekes of ad means excluding or including. So it means including etzem is including that very day. So the entire day is also. So it's not a takana. Sounds like midrabanan. So why taka in the times of the Beis Hamikdash were they permitted from midday onwards? They have no idea what time the Minchas Omer was brought. Shouldn't they wait till nighttime? So he answered because they all know that that Bezin is not lazy. They all know that Bezin is not lazy. In other words, Bezin will do we had a number of times. Koinim, they work with enthusiasm or alacrity, and they'll definitely do it early in the morning. Okay, says we have an argument between Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yechon and Shlakish. Rav and Shmuel both say, Tavaya Bizman Shebeis Hamikdash. They say as follows: in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, what permits you to start eating the new crop Chodesh? Omer matter. The Omer is what allows you to eat the new crop. Bizman ain't Beis Hamikdash time, but the time when the Beis Hamikdash is not in existence. Heyir mizrach mate. They are of the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel, and that's the normal reading of our Mishnah. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai says we made a takana to asr. That means without the takana, it will be permitted when first thing in the morning. Why first thing in the morning? My timer today. You have two psukim. Ksibit says ad haviachim. One post says until you bring the omer, you cannot eat from the new crop. Right? It says v'lechem v'kol kamer lo yisrael is allowed. Don't eat until this day. Ad haviachim is coming until you bring that korban. So till then, so the time maybe you bring the korban, it's all right. And the other hand, Ksibit says don't eat ad etzem hayom hazeh. Which one is it? Is it the day or is it the korban? Okay, so kam is my minhag when the Beis Hamikdash existence, then it's the korban that's mastered. Kam bizman she'ain Beis Hamikdash non-existence. It's the morning. Hey, as soon as the morning, you're allowed to eat it. Navos came along. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai said, "Midrabanan, wait till after the second day of Pesach." Rabbi Yechon and Shlokish, they disagree, and then we're going to have to work out according to Rabbi Yechon and Shlokish in our Mishnah. They both say, "I feel bit by Kayim." Even the time of the Beis Hamikdash, hey and mizrach mate, they agree that today is hey and mizrach first thing in the morning. Where they disagree is in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. Is it korban mate or still in the morning? I will keep out of Yachim the mitzvah. So we're Daf Samach Chesed in the bottom of the page. So we have an interesting. We're talking about that. What's matter to you bring the carbon? You're allowed to eat chametz. You're allowed to eat the new crop. And we have an interesting machlekes between Ravish first and the Mishnah. According to Rabbi Yechon in the times of Beis Hamikdash, you waited for the omer and then you ate. Now there's no Beis Hamikdash. According to Rabbi Yechon he misakin. You have to wait till the end of the second day. Sounds like that Hatoida first thing in the morning. It's only a takana. Rabbi Yudus agrees. He says Hatoida you're not allowed to eat it the second day. In the times of Beis Hamikdash, the carbon was matter. So we have two opinions now. Rav and Shmuel, they're both of the opinion that hey mizrach matter. That first thing in the morning is permitted. Today, Bisman has that, and we just made takana to wait. And in the time of Beis Hamikdash, it was a carbon that's matter because the Apostle says ad havayachem till you bring the carbon. Now we all know that even Bisman Beis Hamikdash, hey and mizrach is mutter. The Apostle says ad havayachem. That's not the love of not eating it. That's a mitzvah say.
What, to give you an opportunity to bring extra carbon?
To bring a carbon, and it sounds like from here the Shem talk about over here that it sounds like even though there's a mitzvah. But you're allowed to eat it before.
That's a trigger for allowing you to.
No, but it sounds more than just it's allowed as if it's lachatchila, rather than just a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah. What's a say? More like it's lachatchila. I want you to wait till the carbon, but if you ate it before, it's gefällig. Okay, now I'm going to ask a series of questions on a Birchel Shlokis that hold that even as Manabayis, it wasn't the oimer that's matter. It's the morning. Freddy Gemara. What's it called? Sorry, again. Even then, it was the morning. I will see it says, Ad Havayachem, it says clearly when the Omer was, as soon as they brought the Omer, it says right in the beginning of our Mishnah, Chodesh was permitted. It doesn't sound like my Mishnah that it's the Omer that's Tafsam Chesem off the bottom page. Doesn't sound like my Mishnah that once you mark with the Omer, Chodesh is mutter. Miyat the mitzvahs. The mitzvah matter. It's only the mitzvah. It's only chatchila, or it's a mitzvah. There's asay, there's a leisasa. The asay is that you should wait till the thing, but there's no leisasa anymore if you eat it first thing in the morning.
Yeah, but you'd be yaitza. You'd be fine.
I mean, it's not a question of yaitza. We're talking about eating if you're over and aveda. You wouldn't overlap.
You didn't wait for the.
Yeah, exactly. The Gemara. So Taisa explains, Mama, it is a mitzvah, but when it comes to mitzvah say, we treat it differently. We don't make zaydas. We don't make zaydas to protect us from mitzvah say. We make zaydas to protect us from loisasa. Tell you what about it says, the next mission says, the Omer is matter in what do you call it? In the Medina for everybody to eat the new crop, and Shtelech is matter for the base of Mikras. You can bring now the wheat, the beginning of the new Menachos. So it's clearly here that the Omer is matter by Medina. What's the Birchel thing? I might say that was mutter first thing in the morning. Says the Gemara again, mitzvah. Like that's going to be the theme for everything. It says in our Mishnah we just learned. It says when people were destroyed, his Kabir was actually enough curiosity to decide that what Yom Hanaf the entire day should be awesome. My time and what's the reason he gave? If we believe there's really build the Yom, and people will say, if we are going to say that you can eat first thing in the morning, so when the base will be up and standing, they'll say, oh, last year we ate first thing in the morning, so this is the same thing, and everyone is made that Bisman, there is an Yom, you have to wait for the Yom. Well, you didn't realize last year there was no base no carbon. Hey, matter. So therefore we waited for first thing in the morning is good enough. But now that we have a carbon, then oimer matter. Clearly it sounds from here that the oimer is the matter, not the Birchel Lakish. Nachmed. If you tell me that something like chatchil we want you to wait for the oimer, but even as Manabayis, according to Birchel Lakish, eat first in the morning, so why make a gzeda? Make a gzeda to make sure you do the thing like chatchil right. We didn't find such a thing. The Yitzhak mitzvah, mitzvah make a gzeda. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai b'shittas Rabbi Yehuda Amra. So Nachman Yitzchak says Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai follows the view of Rabbi Yehuda. In our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda says that Mahatoyre ad etzem hayom says ad b'chlal. He holds that the entire day Mahatoyre is also when there's no aimer to be materit. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai holds against Mahatoyre, and that's why he made a gzeda. Dama Menachos also says add itzum shuliyam till the very end of the day. Uksav, he holds ad b'chal, and he holds ad b'chal, and therefore it's also mahatayda. So the obvious question is, before we get to the second, so when we were tikkun, it wasn't. He didn't make any takana. Mahatayda, it was. You tell me now that it's also the entire second day of Pesach. It says in the Mishnah, Amad v'hiskin. Amar, this means he made a gzeda. We'll get back in a second. First of all, Misa, how can you tell me how like Yehuda? But Miflik, Polig, Ale, the Mamish argue on this very point in the Brayis. It says that now we learn. Zakai came along and said that there's no aim today in Zman, so therefore, you know what? Wait for the entire second day pace to be over. What do you mean wait? Rabbi Yehuda says clearly to Rabbi Zakai, it's Mataydu, which means Rabbi Zakai held. That's only the Rabbanon. And therefore, Rabbi Yehuda is saying, what do you tell me he made exedas? Awesome hatayda. So what do you tell me Rabbi Zakai holds the Rabbanon? And that question goes back. Since it's only the Rabbanon, and you're telling me that hatayda you're allowed to eat first thing in the morning, it's only the mitzvah, so why would you make exeda? The Gemara says that's not a kasha. Rabbi Yehuda made a mistake. Rabbi Yehuda the Kotoi. Rabbi Yehuda misunderstood Rabbi Zakai. Who saw what he thought Rabbi Zakai with Rabbanon Kamar. He thought Rabbi Zakai was talking with the Rabbanon. But the truth of the matter is, but the Raisa, in fact, you're on the same page. You and Rabbi Zakai are on the same page. He also holds my trader. Right? You get more, but says, well, he's skin Tony. He says, Amad Hiskin made a takana. My Hiskin, Dorash Hiskin. Nobody, because his mama buys, there's no reason to discuss what's going to be, there's no base on English. So he came along and he darshan, and we use the word Hiskin, not because he made a new law, but but he darshaned. I want you to know that Mahatoida the entire day is also. We've been eating all this time as soon as because the Torah also said as soon as you bring the aimer is permitted. But when there's no aimer, Mahatoida, that's what he said. Dorashvi Hiskin, not he made a new law. He brought into focus a law that's in the Torah that nobody bothered or nobody realized because it wasn't a geya. Now we have a machlekes where the chodesh is asam atayda, asam midrabanan. So we see from the behavior of the. Remember, if you live today with manazeh, so today midrabanan, we have an extra day of Pesach, right? You have the first 2 days, and then you have the first day of Chalamoid, which are mahatayda, the second day of Pesach already. It was the days over. You're allowed to eat. Midrabanan, the second day of Pesach is really the first day of Pesach, so maybe you have to wait till the third day of Pesach. So the question is, when do you wait to? Remember, Yuchazaki made a gzeda. You have to wait to the end of the day that you could eat. This means the end of the third day of Pesach. You have to wait. If you hold chodesh in Chutzlot is mahatayda and Mizman Hazeh is mahatayda, then yes, because it's a suffix that I said. Maybe it's the second day until maybe it's the third day, and then if you wait till then, or if we hold that chodesh is only the Rabbanan and Rabbanan, then we're going to be makel and say, look, it's not really the second. Even though we say that the first day Chalamoid is the first day Chalamoid. That's only midrabanan. Mahatayda, yesterday was the first day of Chalamoid, the second day of Pesach, and the whole Yisrael of Chodesh Rabbanan anyway, so it'll be mekum. So let's see how the different behaviors, these different behaviors. Rapapa and Abuna B'rei Shur Achli Chodesh, they would eat Chodesh when Be'urta the Shitza Nagi Shifsa. As soon as the night of the first day Chalamoid came in, they were already eat Chodesh. They were already Chodesh. It's only midrabanan that maybe this is the first day Chalamoid. Matayda, it was already today. It's over. Savri, the whole Chodesh b'chutzul ha'aretz rabbanon. They are of the opinion that Chodesh and chutzul ha'aretz is midrabanan. Well, let's make a lechashinim. And for a suffix, they're not chayshish. And we'll talk more about Chodesh later on in the Masechta. And but rabbanon, the Rabashi, Ochlu, they would eat only b'tzafra de shivser. They would wait, but they didn't go all the way to the next night. Like Rabbi Zakai said, Amad v'hiskin, wait till the next night. They were machmer, but they were only 8 days in the morning. Heir hamizach. Because on the one hand, they hold chodesh b'chutz l'ardaraych. That was matayda. So you can't eat straight away because it's the first day Chalamoid. Maybe mahatayda, it's really the second day of Yom Tov. So they would wait. But they held that, but Rabbi Zakai, they understood Rabbi Zakai is only making a takana d'Rabbanan. And therefore, and on Rabbanan, and since it's only a suffix whether it's Yom Tov or not, and today we know that that's not really Yom Tov. It's only that we are machmer because the meaning I was saying to be Yadenu. So therefore, we don't have to go and follow the Gzeira Rabbi Yechanan, when the whole thing we know anyway is not really Yom. It's not really the third, the second day is the third day, and so therefore Heir Hamizach is good enough. The Chitokon LeYemanaf was fake LeTakan. That's opinion number 2. But they hold Chodesh is Matayda. Amar Ravina said, Amar Liyeh, my mother once told me that Avuch, your father, was so machmer that loy havi achol Chodesh, he wouldn't eat Chodesh, ela be'urta de shivsa nagi tamnesa. He believed, yes, he did use Rabbi Yechon Zakai, and he said that the day should be Asr, and Chodesh is Asr Ma'atayda, and therefore he was machmer to every very end of the first day Chalamoid. The Savala Rabbi Yehuda, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. And he is worried about a suffix. He holds mahatoida. In other words, he holds mahatoida. You have to wait ad etzem hayom hazeh till the very end day, and therefore he's chayshel sveika. Or you could have said,
besides the buyer who puts his mother.
oh, well, Rebbe's maid constantly told, he gives this, explains different things. The Gemara could have said he holds a Rabbi Yechim Mazake. He holds a Rabbi Yechim Mazake, but he holds a Rabbi Mazake is saying mahatoida. The Gemara answered before. The Gemara doesn't seem to say that because we don't really like that. Then we have the whole discussion in Marasukah, if you remember, about the Beis Hamikdash. When do you think Beis Hamikdash will be built? Because you have plenty of time to tell people, unless it was built Mamash on Yom Tov, and then how can you build it on Yom Tov? We said it was built Mishkan Shamayim, and at night, and all that. Mishnah. Now the Mishnah spells out. Now you don't bring the carbon mincha on the Beis Hamikdash, ubikurim, nor do you bring the bikurim, minchas behema. So you don't bring menachos if you have to, let's say, a site to bring a mincha. You don't bring it on the Beis Hamikdash from the new crop until after Shavuos, and so to bikurim, which is bikurim of the new grains, only till after Shavuos. Or minchas behema. And the mincha of the behema, that's the mincha the nesachim, and the wine, and the mincha you can't go on the behema. So I guess if you brought it before even Pesach, maybe apostle. Maybe brought it apostle. If you brought it, the Omer was matter for Klal Yisrael, the new crop, just after the Beis Hamikdash. If you didn't wait till Shavuos, you brought it before the brought Shtei Lechem, well, Yavi, don't bring it. But maybe kosher, but the ever is kosher. And anyone wants to know what's the difference? Yasid of Tarfim, the kasher, but I'm saying what's the difference? If the din says that for the Mizbeach you need Shtei Lechem, just like the Omer you need for everybody, so why if you brought it for the Omer, we say it's possible the carbon. But if you brought it for Shtei Lechem, which is specifically for Karbanos, we say, but the ever is kosher. What's the difference? So Tarfim sat there, was bothering him. Ma ben koidim what's the difference? Why should this be kosher and this not? Amal the fun of Yehuda in our Gemara says Yehuda ben Nechemia. Rabbi Yehuda later on. Yehuda ben Nechemia sat there and loy no. Im amrit koidim la'omer. There's a big difference. Before the omer came lahutim miklolei zehadya, nobody can eat the new crop. So therefore, if you brought it on the mizbeach, how can it be that for the Klal Yisrael's also mizbeach you can say it's all right? Can't be. You want to compare that to Shtei Lechem? It was also till now and became mutter for everybody. So it means the whole Issa became much weaker. It's like the Issa started with 100 and you reduce it now to 25, and and therefore it's only Mizbeach. It's much weaker, but yeah, but it's all right. Tavram was like stumped, and he was embarrassed that he didn't know the answer. He couldn't figure it out himself. He was so happy with himself that he was able to answer Tavra's question. Yehuda, that you're so proud of yourself that you answered this old man. I'm not sure. Rabbi Kiva was trying to build up Reb Tarfon, and he called him a Zokin. Could have called him Reb Tarfon, could have more. I guess Zokin, unless Zokin is, in those days, was considered a very complimentary name, that old man. Timahani, I'm going to be amazed, Im Tadich Yamim, if you're going to live much longer. We remember, I don't know if you remember years ago, we had Daf Yomi, we had a guy who took out a book every day and was writing things.
Every time we're in a murder.
Kill somebody off. And eventually he put it away. I said, why? It's too many. It's too much. Yeah. But Rabbi Yehuda said, Rabbi Yehuda, this story happened 2 weeks before Pesach. Prasat half. 2 weeks before Pesach. Because Shalisi last said, when I went up for Shavuos, Sha'alti Achrab, I asked afterwards, where is he? Yehuda ben Nechemia Heichenu, where is he? He said, Nifter, he passed away. And he's gone. It says the fact that the Gemara now has a discussion trying to understand Yehuda ben Nechemia, obviously he wasn't a Stammer person, even though they try to take out the word Rebbe here from the Gemara. Anyway, according to the words of Yehuda ben Nechemia, who says that before the Omer it's possible, because not Huta Meklali, but before Nevelech was kosher, because before Mehuta Klali, he says Nesachi. What about wine? Now wine was never us in the first place. The Bikurim is only on the grains, not on wine. So let's say, so what happened? You have wine that became right before the Omer. They came right before the Omer. The Sachim Bikurim Sheikrivam Kain Omer. If you brought them before the Omer, they should be kosher. They should be kosher because they were never us in the first place, as far as Bikurim is concerned. So using it for a carbon should be us. Said the Gemara, Pshita. Why should it be? Why should it be? There's no chadash there or a bekurim there on wine. What's the tradition? Name. Ma'odim, I would have thought based on what he said. His whole word was why you can bring things for the oimer because why if you brought something for shtei lechem it's mutter is because hutim mikol. Hutim mikol means that it was usher. And then suddenly part of it became mutter. That's called hutam miklali. But it's because this was, and therefore you're allowed to bring it before, we said before the Mishnah, that bikurim, the new thing, should be wait till after Shtei Lechem. So therefore we thought this was never hutam miklali, it was always mutter. Maybe you should also wait until the Shtei Lechem for all the new crop, even things which are never us. That's what we would have thought. Yeah, Mount Hassel with hutam miklali is a hegit. I will hachad lo hutam miklali. It was never mutter, it was never us to make it mutter. Loi. So maybe you have to wait till after Shtei Lechem. Because it's also for the bikurim. Kamash Malon, Kolshke. Never asked in the first place. Why do you need the heter of shtei lechem? So it's mutter. Then you want to question: shtei lechem, the two lechem, ma'ushi atidu shaloi kesidron. Can it be matter? Let's say that this crop came about after you only planted it after the oimer, before the shtei lechem. Now we know there's a sequence. Oimer is matter to everybody, takes off one layer of the yisur, and then comes the shtei lechem, takes off the next layer of the yisur. But what happened if you planted it after the oimer? So you never took off the first layer of the yisur. It was the first place because they did it after it has a new yisur, but it only had the shtei lechem now. Does the shtei lechem still remove the yisur of the mizbeach? Though it won't remove the yisur for everything else, but the only way shtei lechem works is after you remove the closing yisur, step in the next one. So this is his question. If it's not in order, hey, what do you mean? Keep going. The zarino you planted it between the two. So now for next year comes, let's say, like Beimer time. He went through a shtei lechem, and it went through a naimer period. So the question is, he couldn't put it on the mizbeach just for shtei lechem because it's still osir. How can anybody eat it? It's still, you didn't bring the oimer to bring it to being matzah to eat it. But the question is, you had a shtei lechem first because you planted it, between the thing, and then you had the oimer next year. Can you eat it now between Pesach and Shavuos? You had both. Only thing it was a different order. Kisidin Shainos in Lashaya, do we say there has to be dafka in order? First oimer, then that. I did most like it makes no difference which order it is. But Abba says, coming in, I'll tell you, it says that we learned in this week's Pasha a few days ago, it says, Im Takrib, if you bring Minchas Bikurim, the first Mincha, El Hashem, it says, Aviv, Kolid, Be'esh, so on. And what kind of Mincha we talking about? Bikurim, we're talking about Minchas Ha'oimer, we're talking about the Mincha of the Oimer. That's the very first Mincha that you bring, is the Mincha of the Oimer. What do you use for this Mincha? Sa'idin, barley. Barley, maybe it's wheat. Abelazar says, how it's barley. Nemer Aviv Mitzrayim. It said by Mitzrayim that the makadir of Borod destroyed. It says the Hapishta Vasoida Nukosek Yasoida Aviv. So it says clearly, the two shot in the that was still just fresh there for the wind didn't break it. But it says there regarding the word Aviv regarding barley. And it says Aviv L'Daidas. Here by Mincha it says also Aviv, right? It says in Taka Mincha B'Kur Hashem Aviv Koli Beish. So Ma Aviv Hama Mitzrayim the Soyin of barley. Afav Hama L'Daidas Soyin is barley. But Rabbi Kiva Imre says I agree with you, but in a different way. Matzina Yachid Shemei Chavas. We're going to compare a carbon tzibur to a yachid. We find by yachid that he has his normal minchas he brings made out of wheat, and Chavas Soyin by a saita you bring it out of barley. If it's tzibur. And a carbon chayiv is a poor person when in a carbon alienated, can't afford a bird, can't afford anything. The tzibur, so now that we look at the community, and they bring the chayivas from wheat, must be also that maybe in chayiv, must be at least one mincha tzibur. That's barley. Which one is it? Must be minchas oimer. You can tell me that oimer is made out of wheat. That where you're going to find an example by a tzibur you bring from barley. That's the only carbon tzibur they bring from barley. Another pshat is imat oimer. Rabbi Kiva give you another pshat. Imat oimer. This is what he says. If you're going to say, and this is what we're going to focus on. Imat oimer. If you're going to say that oimer b'man achitin, if you're going to say that the oimer comes from wheat. Ein shtei halechem bikurim. If the oimer is wheat, that means you already brought wheat on the mizbeach this year. You're the Torah called, shtei halechem is bikurim. This is the first carbon on the mizbeach from the chodesh. But if your oimer is already wheat, then you already brought chodesh. That's what Rabbi Kiva said. Now, the imisa, if you're going to tell me that no, you could have a machias of shtei halechem. to be yaitse before, even though there was no oimer yet, and the oimer afterwards. If you're right, the shtel lecher is like sit in shayir, and so you tell me that even if it's not a sequence, it's still all right. Then mishkach is well. Then what's up with raya? You want to know how it's possible to have. You can have an oimer min out of barley, out of wheat, and yet the shtel lecher wheat is the first time for this year. Why? Mishkach lebekar oimer mahana the asher koider shtel lecher ubasar oimer dishtakit. Take something that was planted between last year oimer and last year's Tehalechem, and therefore the oimer that you brought this year is for last year because you couldn't eat anything. The oimer you brought this year on the mizbech was for last year because you didn't have yet an oimer on that mincha, so you brought it for last year. And now the Tehalechem you bring out this year is a brand new one. It's this year's, so you can have a mitzias where it's the first time. You brought already in Pesach, but what you brought Pesach was for last year because you said that you can have it out of sequence and it's still considered last year's crop, and it works. You'll combine the Shtei Lechem from last year because you planted it right before Shtei Lechem with the Omer this year for that poor. Mahan the Ashes Kaiden Omer the Hashta or Bas Shtei Lechem Shtakit. But the Gemara me Sabrit. Do you think that Bikurim Lepeda coming in, and you think that we're talking that what we're doing on the Mizbech depends when it becomes mutter to Klal Yisrael. But our discussion here was around regarding Klal Yisrael, whatever it is, if you can have the out of sequence. The Mizbech come in. We're talking about regarding Mizbech that we don't want the Mizbech to have any new wheat until Shavuos. So therefore, my nafkamin, if it's mutter to the Klal Yisrael, this idea that it was planted after the omer. But the fact is, if you brought a carbon omer made out of wheat, this wheat is not the first one for this year, and it doesn't matter whether. But it's not mutter for eating for this. This wheat is not mutter for eating either. That's irrelevant. We're talking about focusing only on the Mizbech. On the Mizbech, this was not the first time you brought new wheat. You brought new wheat already on Pesach. The Mizbech already had some from this year. Just very quickly, 2 more lines. The Shtei Lechem that we said before is matzah, from the Bech. Hanotza Shari is a matzah hanotza. That means it's sort of a little budding. Oy Hanotza Shari, which is a bit of blasphemy. Hanotza is a stage after hanotza. Which stage of fruits or of vegetation is a matzah? My hanotza. What's the difference? Ile mahanotza the peide, the chanotza the peide. If you're going to tell me, we're discussing the level of what fruits are included, what grains are permitted with this shtei halechem, to hanotza or which stage? What are you talking about? Hashta hashrasha shaya. I'm not going to buy you. The din is that as soon as you planted it, as long as it was planted before Shavuos, it's already included, or before Omer, it's already included. So what you're discussing much later stages? What's the shayla? My question is, no, there's no budding at all. It's just leaves. Are the leaves as well considered already as if it's growing, by fruits? Not hashrasha. Is it growing or not? Take will remain a question.
Meaning the vine is starting to grow leaves.
Exactly.
But not getting the fruit bud.
Exactly. So
that's the same option as Honetz Achama, just first of years.
Yeah, exactly. And that's before Chanata. Tomorrow night,